You're watching From Glory to Glory, Channel 343, TBN Africa.
As I look in the mirror, the glory of the Lord, I am changed to His likeness. From glory to glory, from power to power, from strength to strength, I will never be the same.
We are having this talk show to speak about women who are not only faithful as children and women of God, but they are powerhouses in the business world. They are living queens of Sheba. And we are so privileged this afternoon that we really get to sit down and engage with them and to get the makings of what makes a successful woman entrepreneur. Because just by being here, it means that God is saying that any of us can achieve greatness. Amen. I'm going to introduce them briefly. We'll get to know them as we go along with our conversation. But I mean, these are women literally who have billions of rands that have transacted through their company. So we're really talking powerhouses that are here to share everything that they know about how to make it as a queen of Sheba. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies. And I think, let me just begin with you, Mrs. Manley. You are an architect by profession. You're also the principal architect of NSM Designs. It's not a common profession. Can you briefly just tell us what exactly is it that you do business-wise? And more importantly, why did you go into business?
What I do is I design buildings. I design homes, hospitals, schools, structures such as this, which we are under, for people to inhabit. But these buildings that we design must be such that they are structurally sound. So in Jobas nothing should fall on us. We should be able to breathe freely. We should be able to be comfortable within these buildings. So if I'm designing a hospital, for example, I need to think of the patients within that hospital, how they move into hospital, what areas of each place that they go to, etc. So it's basically designing facilities or housing.
And let's go into why it is that you decided to go into business. What motivated you?
I was working for a practice which I believe inspired me to actually do more than I had thought I could achieve. It was an Afrikaans practice in Kloof, headed by Mr. Dion van Onselen, someone I call my father in the industry. He taught me everything that I needed to know about architecture. He taught me things that people don't necessarily teach people under them. He taught me secrets that people don't necessarily give away. So whilst I'd have no office within the building that I was working in, I'd be working from a kitchen, for example. In that kitchen was a pile of files, which although I was an architect, I had to file things which I couldn't understand at the time. But during that filing process of those boxes in an office, in a kitchen, is where I discovered the true love of architecture and what more could happen within it. So in reading these files and the contracts within the boxes that I had to put away, I discovered that there's an opportunity to make a lot of money if things are done correctly and if the principles that we are taught at school are applied. So I thought, what's the worst that could happen if I try?
I like what you're saying. What's the worst that could happen? And there's a lot of money to be made. But let's also explore something. Mamqele, you are a teacher by profession, and yet you have established a very successful business. Tell me a little bit about what it is that you do and how did you transition from teaching into running this successful business?
I taught for like 7 years, and then I realized the kids that I started teaching in grade 6 had gone into matric, and they were going into tertiary, some of them, and then they started driving cars. And I said, okay, I love cars. I'm addicted. I started driving while I was doing grade 8, so I love cars. And I asked myself, what do you want out of this whole thing? I know God has put you in teaching, but how can you make it better? And I said, okay. I started learning other courses, started working in companies because my aim was to own my own company. I'm a passionate person. I love cleaning. I'm an artistic person. I love creating things with my hands. Okay, and I said, okay, because I love cleaning, let me open a company, cleaning, and I'm done.
So, I mean, I like what that says, that it doesn't matter what your background is. You can all succeed in business. It's accessible to anyone, regardless of your education, regardless, of the skill. If you want to go into business, you can do it. And that leads me to our third panelist, Umam Zandile. Can you just tell us about your journey and how you got into owning, first of all, this enterprise, and more specifically, this franchise that you own? Can you just tell us how that happened and your background with that?
I need to say this, guys. You don't need a higher education, diploma, or a degree to get to where God wants you to be. I am a living testimony. I need to tell the truth, and I'm going to put it in the simplest terms. No mama or things I will understand what I'm talking about, because what I'm about to say, it's possible. I've never worked in my life. And I've never reported to work ever. So I always had this thing of running a business. Now, how it started is I had this thing with I need to do something with food. Then I approached the man who was in charge of the traffic department in Pretoria, my papa, and I said, I need to sell food here. When people come here, they spend hours to do my license, my learners, and they don't eat, so I need to supply them with food. He said, no, we cannot allow my board. And I said, no, I've got a professional way of doing it. I bought a trailer, fully fitted stove, shelves and everything. That's how I started my business, selling food at traffic department. And then it grew and grew. Remember, guys, if you're running a business, the key is to save money. So we started to save money. And when I say we, I'm referring to my husband. So we started to save money. And then we wanted to grow the business, and we went to it takes, because my husband was working, I was alone. So I had to grow the business my way. And knowing me, so I approached the taxi association, and I said, I want to come into the taxi. It's male-dominated, especially our side. So, okay, they allowed me. I bought a taxi. The first one bought the second bought the third, and then even now, I'm still involved, but mine, it's not necessarily I'm a taxi rentai. I went far and approached companies in Pretoria. There's an area called the Roslyn, whereby BMW, Bonizen, and everything. That's where I went, book Pick and Pay, approached them with, guys, you've got night shifts, early shifts. How can I help you transport? I've got transport. And by then, I already registered the business. So I had a ECK registered. And then they said, okay, Zandile, you can supply us. It started from one shift. The next thing, I was giving them 2 shifts, on 4 a.m. And remember, Bazalani, nobody was driving. I had one driver and myself. 1 a.m., guys, this is the truth. My mom is right there, is listening. 1 a.m. driving quantum, collecting the stuff, but drop off to different companies, different days. And then that's how it went. And then because it wasn't enough for me, because I wanted to grow the business, that's when I decided to let me go back to my first love, which is food. Started doing my research in business. Which one do I love? Which one does it make money? Something that I can afford. And then I went to the franchisee, Pizza. As it is, I own a franchisee, Romain's Pizza. Everybody. I approached AMA franchisees. Remember, Bazalan, the person who's approaching those things, I got a diploma, I got a degree, and a metric certificate.
You're watching From Glory to Glory, Channel 343, TBN Africa. Looking for new ways to stay in touch? The BCC app is just what you need. You can download the app to watch and listen to the latest sermons. The app will keep you updated with the latest news and events at BCC. You can also easily access the daily devotions to build your spirit at the touch of a button. Be inspired and buy books and messages through the app online. Stay connected with us and download the BCC app via the App Store or Google Play. Get yours now. You're watching From Glory to Glory, Channel 343, TBN Africa.
We're all sitting here, and many of us have ideas about businesses that we can start. But you're sitting here because you managed to move that idea into a profitable business. Can you please, she's already shared some of the practical steps of how to translate this idea into a business. For us, in a way that we can understand, how do we move practically from just an idea into a profitable business? I'll open it up to either of you ladies.
Actually, what happened, my husband was in an aeroplane and some white man comes in and he bangs him with his bag while he's sitting. And then he gets angry at this man. But this man comes and then sits next to him. Apparently, he apologizes and they started conversing. Later, they exchange numbers and then he tells him, I've got this cleaning company. And he says, oh, my wife is so interested. She wants to distribute. And then that's how I started distributing. I approached this, it's a white man. I approached this guy and I started distributing for them the cleaning equipment, chemicals, and material. In knowing the product and understanding how it works, it evoked the love for cleaning in me. And then I started my cleaning business. Did tenders, apply for tenders with the trust that God is going to make your one stand out. Not just stand out, but you make it stand out. Your presentation, your file, your tender document mustn't come back like hopeless. You must, when you send it out, you must know that it's going to capture the eye of the committees that go through the tender process, and you must make sure that it brings back fruit. Even if there is somebody else they were trusting, but with your one being in the top, they don't have a chance.
I think for myself in the architectural industry, I think without experience, sometimes it's a little bit tough to break into the area where you can actually say, I sing ayenza imali manje. Firstly, you have to deal with the fact that you are a black woman in a male-dominated industry. You are perceived as young sometimes, even though you are not young, because of maybe perhaps your structure. And it's not necessarily normal to see a black woman within the industry who is in that profession. So what you get in terms of trying to improve your business is that initially you tell yourself, I can do this on my own. I don't need the help of so-and-so to prove my worth. But very quickly you start to realize that in order to break into markets that the others are able to break into, you now need to marry or go into joint venture with companies that are well established. So having realized that, my strategy was then to approach companies that are perceived as companies that have been in good standing and are reputable for the service delivery. The company that I grew up in, for one, is the one I first approached and basically told them, I see that you guys are preparing for the bid that's coming out, which is the Moses Mabhida Stadium. I'm a professional architect. I've just registered my company. I perceive that I am of worth of such. I want a stake of this percent were we to tender together. And because of who I am and what I bring to the table, I think it would service you well to have me on the team. So I was able to say, this is what I want, and this is how I want it, and this is why you are actually going to put me in this team with you guys, and what my worth is.
Entrepreneurship is not an easy thing. And I do believe that there are some challenges that we face as entrepreneurs. Can you talk me through some of the moments that you say these were some of the most challenging moments that I had, some of the biggest problems that I had? Because I believe that in our biggest failures or problems are some of our biggest lessons. So if you could just take us through some of those moments, and more especially the lessons that you learned out of those. So I'll start with you, Sis Zandile. What were some of the moments where you thought, this is really overwhelming, I don't know how I'm going to make it through? And what did you learn out of it that we can learn from you?
Mina, the first challenge that I faced, it was when I wanted to buy a franchise. Remember, guys, when you're buying a franchise, you're buying the name, your mundo already, who's already created a brand for themselves. So it doesn't come cheap. Yes, you've got your CK, we register, you've got the clearance certificate, but it doesn't end there. you need to have your own money. O ikiretseng yona, wa e savela yona, apart from what the bank can give you. So that was the most challenging part of business. And because, let's say, I'm just going to give you example, don't take the numbers. Let's say it's 10 million to open a franchise. They expect you to have 5 million of your own money that you generated. This is not the right figure, I'm just giving you one. They want, they want, let's say about 10 million, you must have at least 5 million, and then the other 5 million you must go to the bank. Now the trick is the bank will also look at your profile. Ungathi wena une-CK registerile in the SARS bank, clearance certificate doesn't work for you, doesn't talk for you a bank. It doesn't matter how much you bank, but bank as much as you can. The little that you've got, create a history and a record with your bank. Because when it's time for you to apply for the 50% that is outstanding, they will need your statements, they will need financial statements and everything, and then that will prove to them, but this person, then we can give them 5 million that is outstanding. So that was the biggest, because I had half, and then I needed the other half. So at least it must be money, and then why save. So that was the biggest challenge for me. Otherwise, I'm a cheat industry sharp now.
I would take her to a meeting any day. Any day. People are not willing to stand up for what they believe in and what is right. One of the challenges I had was doubting myself until I actually stood up to the platform and said, Siyalola, who's fighting? So overcoming that challenge was difficult, but I did.
How did you, as a woman of God, with this business, manage to firstly run the business so that it outlives the duration of the contract, so that you're not just depending on the contracts to come? How did you do that? And secondly, how did you work this corrupt system?
I think the background of being raised at Kwamashu Christian Center served me very well in guiding me in every decision that I took. So what I'd find is that if there were approaches which were saying, let us do A, B, C, D, I would not necessarily be part of that. And what would happen is that I'll be put aside, for example, and not gain part in that work. So I'd lose out. So effectively, I'd say, I'm not part of that. And so it would be known in industry.
Yes. As women entrepreneurs, how did you develop yourself personally, and how important was it to get that right? Sizandile.
Now you'll find, like, on the 7th year meeting is all the franchisees, you'll find it's only 2 or 3 black people, the rest of the franchisees are white. Now for you to, obviously self-development, me as a person, I don't want to see myself only one Roman's Pizza. I've already identified a site, I'm planning to open another one. You know, for us to grow in this business, the first thing is you need to save money. I want to think when you're in business, you've got money. Yes, you are making money, but you don't have to prove to anyone that you are making money. You save a lot. You don't have to prove to anyone that you're making money. And then they will expect to go to, because you are a franchise owner, there's a certain level of imoto kumele uhambe ngayo, or uhlale kuphi, or wenza izinto kanjani, and then we chose not to. Because if we chose to, trust me, we can afford to buy a nice car, but we chose to save and have another money to open another business. So for us, personal growth, it's more about growing the brand, yes, but growing ourselves as well. Business, we want to see ourselves growing, owning, at least by the end of this year, opening our 2nd store within a year.
And Mam Dosi, what practical tips would you give for women entrepreneurs? Maybe you're sitting here and you're saying, I've been operating at a certain level and I just can't seem to get beyond where I am now. How would you advise those women to move from where they're operating in business and to expand?
Ebandleni lethu sifundisiwe ukuthi ukunikela is what builds you. God will do anything. So what I did mina with my cleaning industry, nginikele esontweni ngama cleaners, I was 6. I pay their salaries, I do everything, bonuses, everything. Equipment is sent to. In doing that, it's like saving. You're saving, but exponentially, because that is going to grow even faster than what was going to happen in the bank. ayipheli contract ingakafike because you are a kingdom financier more than anything else that you do.
You're watching From Glory to Glory, Channel 343, TBN Africa. Looking for new ways to stay in touch? The BCC app is just what you need. You can download the app to watch and listen to the latest sermons. The app will keep you updated with the latest news and events at BCC. You can also easily access the daily devotions to build your spirit at the touch of a button. Be inspired and buy books and messages through the app online. Stay connected with us and download the BCC app via the App Store or Google Play. Get yours now. You're watching From Glory to Glory, Channel 343, TBN Africa.
What is the role of the Queens of Sheba's in the local church?
Yes, I like to call myself a kingdom financer as well. I often find that as women, we tend to shy away from saying we are kingdom financiers, and stede lo baba beye phambili sibe sazi kahle ukuthi ayino kahle hle iphethwe yimi le. So I think we shy away from being kingdom financiers, but I want to encourage women to actually proactively and assertively be that, because as you do that, as Umam Dosi was saying, is that it opens doors for you beyond even your own understanding. And Queen of Sheba is appropriate because if you read that scripture and what the Queen of Sheba was able to do, when you look at that, it says that Nati, we have the same ability. So in saying I'm a kingdom financer, I don't just say it because saying things is easy. You do, and the doing sometimes is painful because if you look at your cash flow and you look at what angakakhokhelwa la kusafuna ngiyolanda leya invoice naleya lo kingdom financing kusahamba nje kahle la. So there's decisions that you need to make. What are your priorities, and who butters your bread kahle? So I mean, I know it's up there.
Can you just talk us through the role that the local church has played?
Oh, wow. Mina, especially in this church, remember, I'm still new, like Delmas. I met Umfundisi, #1 supporter. He would come to a stall and says, Andile, we are praying for you. We are praying for your business. I remember when I came here, I had a lot of people, especially white people, coming, no, you won't last. It's more than enough for you because Delmas, here in Delmas, I'm a business our last. And it's true, because I did my research, I'm a business like Delmas our last. I don't know why, but I'm still standing after it, and I'm very sure about it.
And there may be some of you who either you're in business or you are considering going into business, or you know someone who's in business. And ladies, I just want to ask you, what would you advise to someone who's sitting here? Practically, literally, I just came here today and I sat and I'm inspired by what you're saying, and I want to do this business thing, and I want to advance, I want to expand. How would you advise me to practically move from where I am today to where I'd want to be? Mamangli?
You do certain things that empower this one speciality that you want to focus on, because the danger is to have too many things that you want to focus on, and then you end up not giving enough attention to the key thing that you want to do. So you focus on one thing and you learn about that specific thing. And therefore, when you do that, when you start approaching people with regards to the services that you offer, you have something behind you which is solid, which says you have additional or above that which is norm. That's number one. Number two, I think in the starting up, there's the opportunity to market self. I think people underplay that. Once you've identified that I want to do hospitals, I then said, oh, aba who provide, who require the services of hospitals being built. Department of Health, I would approach Department of Health and see what is the scope there, what hospitals are required within which facility, within which areas, which regions don't seem to have the facilities required. So you do research also in terms of that who is the client base? Where am I going to sell my services to? Is it Itala? Is it Department of Works? Is it Health? And you approach those people and put together documents in line with that. And you don't sit still after that. You go further in that. If I were, so you do scenarios of, if I were to get this work, how would I go about making sure that it's sustainable? Now, there's a mistake of saying sustainable is making sure that into keeps, the business keeps running. Sustainable is not necessarily keeping something running. Sustainable is ensuring that the running entity is not depleted in any way. So in other sense, the resources always remain. So this thing of what I'm sustainable just because I'm paying salaries every month, but long-term plan doesn't exist.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Kale. If you could just briefly, we're really out of time, but just how would you advise someone who's starting or who is already in business and wants to move forward?
It helps to develop yourself, joint venture with people, but learn as much as you can. Branch out, do your own thing. Apply the same systems that you see them, that you see make them grow. And then the next thing, you just work very hard for your own business to make sure that you have a contract. Each time this one ends, make sure that you have already applied for more contracts.
And Sizandile, you are a franchisee. It's a business that many people want to go into, but it's not very easy to get into it. Can you just talk us through someone who wants to own a franchise? Practically, where do I start? Who do I go to? Briefly, how would you advise me?
Start doing your research. Which one do you think works better? Because you've got different franchisees, and believe in yourself. If I can do it, so can you. Matric certificate, degree, diploma, as long as God says yes, it's done.
And unfortunately, that's where we're going to have to wrap up this session. What a powerful, wonderful insight that we've gained from these ladies who are practically doing daily. The power of partnership, the power of doing your research, the power of starting where you are with the little that you have, not being afraid, being brave, being aggressive, and trusting that if God says it, then you can do it. I hope that you were inspired. I hope that you were encouraged. And I hope that as the queens of Sheba are sitting here, that you will arise as well and become a queen of Sheba yourself. May God bless you.
As I look in the mirror, the glory of the Lord, I am changed to His likeness, from glory to glory, from power to power, from strength to strength. I will never be